Well, if you've been watching the news, you'll know that there are all sorts of things happening in the nation of Ukraine and in the Crimea and, of course, Russia, and what is being described as an invasion of Crimea. Koen Carlier is with Christians for Israel. He's in Kiev, in the Ukraine, and he's on the line with us right now. Hello, Koen. Welcome to 2020.
Yes, good morning. Good afternoon or good evening. Yes.
There is a bit of a time difference.
Now it's here 7 o'clock in the morning in the Ukraine. I'm not in Kiev. I'm 300 kilometers southwest from Kiev, living in the city of Vinnitsa, which has a population about 450,000 people.
Koen, what is happening with what is called a Russian invasion? Are you affected by it?
Yeah, well, it's what we have seen over what's happening now. It didn't happen overnight. It's already since November last year that the protest started in the Ukraine. Especially it started in Kiev, and it spread it all over the nations, also in Vinnitsa where I lived. So the protesters didn't agree that the former Janoekovitch didn't sign agreement with Europe. But then actually the protest became more and more violent. Extreme right-wing groups filtered in, and then it turned from a pro-European against the Ukraine government. So, and then it turned out more and more violent, and then we have seen the final clashes in the end of February, with lots of people being killed. So then basically all over the country there's all kind of buildings, police buildings and so on has been taken in, occupied, put on fire. And then Janoekovitch finally fled the country with lots of other ministers on Friday evening, 21st of February. And now since recently we heard we are in Russia. Of course, if you look on the map of the Ukraine, you also have the island Crimea, and there you also have the Russian Black Sea Fleet, and this is, of course, something Putin will never let it go. So that's why he is now there on the Krim to protect the Black Sea Fleet, and so that Ukraine cannot take that area.
Koen, those who are primarily under the influence of Russia at the moment are in Crimea and the southern and eastern part of Ukraine. Are all Ukrainians a little bit nervous at this moment?
Yes, of course, because nobody expected that it goes that so fast. So I don't know what will happen now the next following days. I also must say that Putin, he has something in mind and he will not let it go, and he is not afraid what the world community will say. So he knows very well what he is doing, and we don't know really what it will lead to. But one thing we know that God has everything under control, and it's also time for the Jewish people to flee and to come finally home.
Ukrainian people are obviously fearful. Are they taking up arms? Is the military of Ukraine preparing to resist the Russians?
Well, it's all speaking of words. Ukrainian army is very weak. So basically they cannot do anything against the Russian army. That's why Ukraine tries to call for help or assistance from the United States, from Great Britain. But of course, I think they will try to solve it with words. But we really don't know how it further the situation will be. For sure, we think that Russia will not let the Crimea go. He is there now. He will keep it, and then we will see further what will happen in the east of Ukraine.
Koen, in your role with Christians for Israel in Ukraine, you work as a field worker and you're working with Jewish families there to help them to return to Israel. Is any of this incursion by the Russians into eastern Ukraine upsetting, or is it affecting the work that you're involved in?
No, I think so far the Jewish people, of course, there have been acts of anti-Semitism. There have been all kind of slogans written on the synagogues: Jews, Russian, and black people out. The synagogue in Simferopol on the Crimea has been vandalized. So all kind of sort of things are happening, but basically the Jewish people in Ukraine, they are used to live with anti-Semitic acts in one way. On the other hand, the Jewish people still now can in peace prepare themselves to leave the country. And that's basically our urgent call to the Jewish communities and to the Jewish leaders and to the Jewish people, because we meet often with them, and we also do actions with food parcels for the poor Jewish people here. So we tell them, look, we don't want to create a panic situation, but you need to be wise, you need to be on alert, and we just ask you, prepare your documents, prepare your passport, contact the Jewish agency, so they are aware of you are living here or there, and prepare yourself so if an emergency situation comes, that you have all your documents ready to leave for Israel. So it's better safe than sorry. Let's put it that way. We hope and pray for the best, but be prepared for the worst. And that's our message to the Jewish community. We see already more and more people are calling, more and more people want to have an interview at the Israeli embassy in Kiev, and we see that more and more people are preparing now to leave. But who knows what will happen tomorrow. We also read in the prophet Zechariah, chapter 2, that God says, flee from the land of the north. And if you now realize that the Bible is written in Israel, and you go to the land of the north, then you come exactly in the former Soviet Union. So these warnings from the Lord in the Bible, it's already mentioned so many times in the prophet Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel. And I also think Friday evening we had a Shabbat meal with a local rabbi here in Vinnitsa, and he had a lot of guests, Jewish guests from the regions. So they asked me my opinion, and I said, well, I think the time that the Jewish people are sitting here in the diaspora, are sitting here in the Ukraine, thinking what to do, what not to do, to go or not to go, I think this time is really over. That the Jewish people should prepare, and as long as we can do our work, we will help and assist them. We also have the local churches, and if needed, they will also help and assist us with transport and so on. So we ask also the people in Australia also to pray for the Aliyah work, for the Aliyah workers, for often the families that also stay behind. We also pray for the safety, for the Jewish people, and also that the Jewish people will hear his voice and leave the Ukraine, leave the diaspora, and go to Israel. Not go from diaspora to another country, but really go to the land of the forefather, what God has promised for them.
Koen, obviously there is real threat to Jews in Ukraine, and you mentioned also the extreme right-wing elements that are at work, and of course that will all be exacerbated potentially by any sort of invasion by Russia. Are Christians also at risk in Ukraine? Not yet. I think not yet. The current president now of the Ukraine, he is a Baptist, so the Christian people are not at risk now. Koen Carlier is our guest, and we've been talking about the situation in Ukraine and in Crimea with the Russian invasion that appears to be underway. Koen, I'll point people to Christians for Israel, how they could potentially get in touch with you and your organisation. Thank you so much for being with us today here on 2020.
Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.